Hey, Billy from Perma Pastures Farm, and today we're going to be doing something really fun, something that's passionate to me, and that's going to be grafting, and it's going to be grafting fruit trees. And we're going to show you today just how easy it is, and there's tons of methods on how to do this, but we're going to show you today the methods we use. Now, there are some where you need nothing more than an X-Acto knife or a pocket knife, and those methods work. We're going to do it a little differently today. So, why am I sitting here? Number one, it's raining outside and we need something to do inside. So what a wonderful activity. We could be doing it out in the greenhouse, but we just happen to have these in the garage and I'm not about to go out and get soaking wet to go get this done. So what do we have here? We have rootstock in these pots that William planted about a week ago. And it's M111 apple rootstock, semi-dwarf. And over here we have some pear rootstock as well. Today we're only going to deal with the apple rootstock. So we got some of these scions, these apple scions. Basically, these are the trees that are going to grow. And we have the rootstock. We're going to be attaching the scions to the rootstock. And we really don't need much. Let's talk about the tools of the trade. Today we're going to be using this high-speed Orchen graft tool. And we're going to be using some grafting wax. We're going to be using some rubber bands. And I'm also going to be using some rubber gloves for two reasons, really. Number one, it's going to make the filming of the grafting stand out a little bit more. And also when I use this grafting wax, it's just going to make things a lot easier. So with that said, we're going to get down to it. Okay, let's talk about the scions. Remember, these are the guys that are going to attach to the rootstock. And in this particular case, we actually had these mailed to us from Akiva Silver, who wrote a book called Trees of Power. Really good stuff, and you should read it if you have any interest on the subject. Okay, now, first thing that's important to know that, first of all, you want to make sure that when you get your scions, you want to make sure you have at least 3 buds. You want to have 3 buds that are attached to each rootstock. And then you also want to make sure they're going in the right direction, because it ain't going to do you no good if they're upside down. So I can almost guarantee you it ain't going to grow. And if it does, you need to have Ripley's on speed dial. So anyway, first things first, we're going to take these guys and we're going to make sure that each one of these little buds here, that we have at least 3 of them. So I'm going to start with this handy dandy graft tool and I'm going to count out the buds. Now, I should point out that before we even got started, you want to clip off a little bit in the front and a little bit in the back. Okay, so this has been sitting, by the way, in a refrigerator, just in a little crisper. You wrap it in some paper towels, moisten the paper towels, and you can sit it in a crisper for a while. First thing we want to do is make sure, before we cut this thing, make sure you have at least 3 buds in there, okay? Now, I'm going to take this grafting tool, I'm going to situate it in here. Now I want to make sure I do this right. And like so, this almost feels like surgery. And it's going to make this little indentation that you have right here. Okay, at this point, all I'm going to do, I only have 2 sections of this, so I'm going to cut them off. And I'm going to make sure I have 3 buds, and I'm going to see how many scions I get. So here all together, we have 6 little scions that we can make trees out of. And that's exactly what we're going to do. This tool is going to make an omega shape as described by Stefan Subkowiak in the bottom of this thing. So it's going to be shaped like this on the top, on the scion part of it. This scion, it'll make a shape like this. And then it'll make a shape that fits into it on the rootstock. So all we have to do is basically measure up 6 inches, which on me, which is about from here to here. So 6 inches up from the base, that's where I'm going to cut my rootstock. And I'm going to attach the scion to it. Okay, So here we are, 6 inches up, roughly. This is my rootstock. This is what's so beautiful about this. You could do this with a pocket knife and just make a slit in this and then slide this down there after you make a point in this. But you know what? That's the cool thing about this tool, is that it makes it somewhat stable. Now, it's not all that stable, but what's critical is that you line up what's called the cambium layers, which is just on the edge, so it doesn't have to. You don't situate it right in the middle of the cut you made. You situate it to one side to where these edges line up like so. Now, here's where we get down to brass tacks. Okay, rubber band, right? So we don't have any elastic, but a rubber band, a thick one, will do. All I'm going to do is just cut it from the bottom up. I'm going to wrap this thing. And I'm not going to pull it too tight, but just tight enough. And just like a shingle, you want it to shed water. Hopefully this is all coming out with these gloves. Okay, now, this is secured, and it's a rubber band. Like I said, you work from the bottom to the top, just like you never see anybody roof a house from the top to the bottom. Well, the same way, you want the water and anything else to shed away from it. But you want to keep that moisture, you want to find a way to keep that moisture intact as well. So this is where the wax comes in. Now, I should point out, there are other people that use things like paraffin. They have paraffin tape, which is another way of saying wax tape. That you can use for this sort of thing. It's not necessary, or you can just take, you can take the elastic. In fact, I'm convinced, William insisted that I didn't use it, but I'm absolutely convinced that you could take rubber electrician's tape and probably do the same thing. So now what we're going to do, try to retain some of this moisture in here. We're going to take some of this wax, cover the top where I cut it, and then we're going to put some around this here. It's gonna help retain some of that moisture in there. So we'll just spin it a little bit. And the cool thing is that any buds that decide to pop through, they can make it through there. Okay, so that's the first one down. Go out there, practice on some twigs. Don't do this first time out and screw up everything. Go out there, practice quite a bit before you give it a shot. So here I am with my blue gloves, which seems highly appropriate in light of what I see every time I go to any store out there. See everybody decked out in blue gloves and a mask, which, as a side note, it is a little bit curious that for the first time in American history, somebody that looks like me can walk into a grocery store wearing blue gloves and a mask and not get beat with a billy club or shot. So with that said, we're going to go ahead and drive on with the rest of these. Okay, that's it in a nutshell, folks. There's nothing to it. In fact, as we were doing it, William was remarking about how much fun it is. And really, if you're looking for an activity to do while you're stuck at home, or, I can probably fill volumes with a number of reasons why this is such a great idea. Not the least of which being that, let's say you were to buy this when it's grown up in a store. Do you have any idea what you're going to pay for it? It ain't cheap. Now, contrast that with the understanding that the scions you can, in many cases, get for free, and the rootstock ain't that expensive. In fact, in this case, I think it was $3. So with a little bit of know-how, a little bit of ingenuity, and something you could have done easily with a pocket knife, you don't have to buy this high-speed grafting tool, but it is handy. It is helpful. We could have showed you the other methods too, but that's really not all that important at that point. I guess the biggest thing to point out right now is, if you have a little time on your hands, you're thinking, okay, man, I need something to do. Well, look at the last several videos. There's things you can do, but here's something that you can do even in an apartment. Let's say all you have is a balcony. Well, go put some soil into a bucket. It could even be a 5-gallon bucket. It doesn't matter. Put some soil in a bucket, put some rootstock in there. When it starts to bud a little bit, when it starts to grow just a little bit, that's when you put your Scion on it. So enjoy yourself, have some fun, and learn some new stuff, folks. Even if you mess up a few, really, what are you out? Like I said, it's $3 for this. And if you wanted to start a little side business and maybe do this as, as part of it, that's something to consider as well. But you know what? On those rainy days, these are the things we do. These are the fun activities that we partake in. So we got more to do. We got peach roots or pear rootstock to also mess with. And we're also going to keep back a few of these to make additional rootstock so we don't even have to buy that. So I hope you find some of this stuff informative. Hit the like button, subscribe, tell your friends about us. Until next time, this is Billy, the permaculture pimp daddy from Perma Pastures Farm. We'll see you next time.